Shall we get started?
I'm ready when you are.
You ready, Francine?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so we'll call this meeting to order at 6:03. We're going to start off with open time. If anybody has any comments they would like to bring up or discussions? Seeing none. Move on. Approval of minutes of January 28th. Comments?
They look good to me. There was just a couple of typos. It said 2020, should be 2021, so I'm gonna update that.
Yeah, that was it.
I think we all have the same thought process. Okay.
Happens a lot in January.
Yeah. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes of January 28th.
I will second the
2021.
motion.
I can.
Hello,
I can.
sorry I'm late.
That's okay.
I'm surprised I'm even here. Sorry.
Okay, all those in favor of approving January 14th minutes, say aye.
Richard,
Aye.
Slattery, aye. Okay. Robin, you have down here approved minutes of February 9th. Review the proposal.
So we did neat, so
Yeah,
no meeting, so no approval.
okay, thank you. Kind of had me thrown off there for a minute. I'm like, okay,
That was a proposal evening.
yeah. Okay, next up is request from Janet Kane to rescore the Council on Aging Director.
Okay, before she begins, I need to just say something. I need to let you know that I was in touch with the Ethics Commission because Janet is my spouse. She is also the chair of the Council on Aging and she's the clerk for the Board of Assessors. And so I discussed the situation with them and they were really fine, but they did advise me to file a disclosure of appearance of conflict of interest with the town, which I did. I spoke to them yesterday and I submitted the document to the town clerk this morning. So it's a
Yes.
matter of record. I feel that I can, conduct our business with impartiality and without favor.
Thank you, Francine.
Now, I have to say something as well. I want to recuse myself from the review of the COA director for reasons of being an employee of the Council on Aging. And I did send a letter on an email on February 8th to most all indicating that I was going to recuse myself from both presentations. And I haven't been able to get clarity at this point, any final documentation from the Ethics Commission. So until I do that, I would prefer to recuse myself from both of these presentations.
So noted.
So just so you know, Ken, I'll give you a number that you can call and they will call you back the same day
Okay,
rather than trying to communicate by however, email or whatever. I think it takes them a little longer that way.
okay, fine, thank you. So what would you prefer that I do? Should I mute myself or just get out of the meeting and come back?
You can mute yourself. I mean, you don't really have to mute yourself at all. I mean, you're not going to be saying anything, so.
All right, then that's what I'll do.
Janet, would you like to?
Sure, thanks, Christy. We did send some language that we felt was more accurate than the job description that was approved back in, I think, January of 2018. And I know that you, I think, may have probably distributed that. And I have a whining dog that I'm going to try to keep quiet for a couple of minutes, so I apologize. I've asked Jim. Jim is the author of those paragraphs. Jim is also a member. Excuse me. Is also a member of the Council on Aging Advisory Board. So, and the author of the language. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to him if you would like us to review that document, or I'm not sure, Chrissy, what's the best way to proceed, or what your intention is tonight. I wasn't sure if you're going to rescore or have a discussion about it, or what how you as a board wanted to proceed.
As far as my thought process is, we can review the job description, but I would like to rescore later at our next meeting, so we have time to go over this more thoroughly, and we want to make sure we're doing everything accurately. I don't want to just jump into something and have it done wrong.
And we appreciate that.
I know we're in the process of, we're in the process of trying to redo this anyway, but I know you and the assessors would like both their positions rescored, but I don't feel comfortable jumping into something and just rescoring something at the drop of a hat without making sure everything's done correctly and that they're being fairly scored.
And I
So we can discuss.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I wasn't sure if there was an
Go
approval.
ahead.
Yeah, okay. If there was an approval process on the language as well, as after you review it, doesn't need to go to the select board for approval before it can be included into the actual finalized job description. So that I wasn't sure of what the process is from your perspective. I mean, I know the job descriptions were approved by the select board after the PPPB approved them. So I don't know if any changes that would then have to be run through the select board as well.
I'm not sure. How about, can you elaborate that on, Francine?
Well, I'm gonna look at because those would be rules that I hope would be in this personnel rules and regulations about changes in job description. But it all, I mean, we would have to do it first regardless. And
Right.
make a recommendation, and then I'll check and see whether or not it's something that the select board has to approve. But I'll try to do that during the meeting tonight. If not, by tomorrow, I'll get an answer.
Yeah, I think this
But
is again
certainly well
something.
within the time, yeah.
Yeah, this is something, again, I want to make sure that we all go through as a board. And I know you guys are on a time limit because of budget meetings and all that.
That doesn't mean it should be rushed through the system.
Well, no, and that's what I don't want to do. And that's,
And I think
just like we've been talking for the past few weeks, few months, excuse me, that we want to get this done because the employees do need fair wages and a little boost, being that they haven't gotten anything, I guess, in a few years or a couple of years. That's really worthwhile for what they do.
So if you would like Jim to review some of the changes that he's made, so you have a better understanding
Yeah.
of changes, then I'm going to mute myself and turn it over to my brief friend, Jim Palermo. So, right, Jim.
Hi, I'm Jim Palermo. I live on Glendale Road. Yeah, I'm the newest member of the COA board and a former member of the personnel board. And in the days of virtual meetings, I know that things are a little scrambled. I would like to suggest a procedure which might fit in with what you were discussing before, that if you are amenable to our rescoring the position for the COA director, that we, the COA, would submit to you a revised job description that would incorporate the changes that we feel are relevant. And if you agree to score it, then it'd be my belief that one procedure would be to, if whatever changes you make or approve, would then go to the board as a package of the suggested adjustment in wage. if there's one, and the new job description. And I think that would be more efficient. And I'm just suggesting that. Obviously, I'm not telling you what to do. This is a sort of new ground for all of us, especially with COVID. But at our last COA board meeting, the subject came up again that we think that the COA position, the director's position, is not rated appropriately for what the position involves currently. And there's several reasons for that. An informal survey was conducted by the COA board, and we found that of the survey of towns in this area of relative same size as Southampton, that our COA director was second lowest in wages by as much as $8 to $10 per hour. And when we meet in person, I'm sure we'd be happy to share that survey with you, if you feel it would be relevant. But of the towns, which were Munson, Hamden, Brimfield, Granby, Warren, Southwick, and Hadley, our COA director is paid at $20.40 an hour. The lowest was in Warren, who is paid $18.67. But the average pay for all of the towns was $27.03. And the high was $32.80. And, they were all significantly higher. The director's position was last scored on January 11th, 2018, in accordance with the job description that was then extant or current. And I was part of that scoring process. So I can tell you that we followed the standards the standard scoring system and used as our guide the then current job description. There are many reasons that job description itself was deficient, notwithstanding the very good efforts of the then board of the COA. But one of the problems was that, I don't know if you're familiar with the Jacobs study and what he did, and there's this big rush to get job descriptions done. And one of the problems I think the COA previous to January of 2018 also was that they saw themselves as more than just an advisory board. The bylaws for the town were amended in 2018, making the COA an appointed advisory board. And so with that, the scope of authority and autonomy that goes to the COA is greatly expanded. We do not provide day-to-day supervision. The position of the COA director is a department head with very broad discretion as to what she's doing, or he or she is going to do. The director has the authority, in our view, to effectively recommend personnel issues such as hiring and firing and promoting and so forth. And the COA position currently involves supervising two administrative people, 3 bus drivers, and in addition to that, the paid and unpaid people that come in to perform the programming. She, or the COA director, is expected to conceptualize, implement, design, modify, and administer all of the programs offered to our seniors. In addition to that, the COA director negotiates with vendors for equipment, and her supervisor is the select board through the town administrator. So on a day-to-day basis, she has a really very broad discretion to perform and I'm saying she, but it could be a he, because this is the position, not the person. But the COA director would have sufficient, very broad authority and responsibility. So in those areas, we think that we should modify the job description. And then as almost a minor point, the job description also underestimates the physical demands of the job. Being a small COA, you might think that her job, the position would be not as demanding as in a large facility, but actually the COA director in a small center doesn't have anybody to help her. So the COA director is expected to haul furniture and tables and chairs, you know, those banquet things for community meals. And she does a lot. Oh, and office furniture and office supplies, because the small staff there requires that the COA director do the bulk of that work. So those are the two principal areas in the job description that we believe warrants modification and warrants being revisited. And again, having been involved in the original scoring, I did that at a time when I was not aware of what the COA director did at all. I have gained some more insight now as a member of the COA board. And I understand why the job description was written originally the way it was. It was a really very confusing time. We were the COA board, or I'm sorry, the personnel board in that time was in the process of drafting the personnel rules and guidelines, which was demanding. And then we had the Jacob study to deal with. And a lot of duties and responsibilities were put on boards and department heads to come up with something quickly. And I think, I don't mean to be critical of the prior COA board, that's all I'm saying. I think they did the best they could, but in retrospect, it seems that what we have now is not accurately reflected in the current job description. So we feel a rescoring would be appropriate.
I'd like to just add one thing to what Jim said. And it comes from familiarity with, you know, what goes on at the senior center, but there is a section in the evaluation plan that calls for public safety. And yet there was nothing in the packet, an explanation of what it meant. And quite honestly, I mean, it's not, she's not, you know, the director of the COA is not a policeman or fireman in that sense of public safety, but yet they have the responsibility of ensuring that the seniors who come with sometimes with some limitations, et cetera, you know, need to be handled in a certain way. So in essence, that's public safety. The fact that she makes determinations about who can ride the van and who can't ride the van in terms of the type of assistance they need. So there is some public safety component to this. It's not police, it's not medical, it's not fire, but I envision it if we had someone who didn't pay attention to individual issues, that we could end up causing some difficulty for some people and causing some accidents and being ultimately the town being liable. So that's all I want to say about it.
If I may, but go along with what Francine, I remember we were discussing how to configure the COA, the senior center, in light of COVID. And one of the discussions was what to put on the floor to maintain the 6-foot distancing and so forth. And it turns out that a lot of people, especially those experiencing dementia, can be terrified by something on the floor. And the director has to be sensitive to that. And that's one of the reasons too that we intend to add to the job description the requirement that the COA director be certified, because the scope of responsibility caring for fragile seniors, myself included, no, but it's awesome. It's a very serious responsibility.
Do we have a COA director right now?
Yes,
Are they certified?
yes.
They are
In
certified.
fact, she was just one of, I think it was 5 in the state to get certified. 3 or 5, I forgot what the number was. 5.
How many hours does she work a week, or he?
29, I think.
29 a week?
It's 26 a week. It's been, the senior center is open from 8:30 to 3, Monday through Thursday. This year, because of COVID, there's a lot of statewide directors meetings on Fridays. So we do have the state formula grant that allows her to participate in those meetings without impacting the general fund of the budget. So, and we would like to expand at some point the senior center, because not every senior is some of them aren't available during the day. They would like to have evening activities. And one of the, we have a one-room senior center, so, it has to be reallocated depending on what the activity is. So I think that's what Jim was referring to too, with setting up tables, taking down tables and things.
Okay. That was very informative. I would like to definitely, if we could schedule this, Robin, next meeting to go over this description thoroughly and then try to rescore it.
Would you like to put it together in one new job description? Is that the best format for you to?
Yeah, try to do it all in one, and then take it from there. Does the board agree with me, or do they have any comments?
Christie, I'm sure that within the next few days, we can get the revised job description to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think having one comprehensive document, yes, rather than updates.
Yeah, I mean, this was for our discussion purposes tonight, rather than try to bury it into the document, to separate it out so we could have a, focus.
Right, 'cause you gotta go.
We can schedule an earlier meeting than our next meeting, just for that purpose.
I'm sorry, pardon me?
You cut out, Robin.
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll schedule an earlier meeting than our next meeting for this purpose.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That'd be great.
And Joan is 1 out of 5 certified directors out of 351 towns. So, I mean, it was quite an accomplishment to get that certification. And we have a lot of good people in town hall that have really outstanding certifications. So,
Do we have a copy of that certification with the treasurer's office or with us?
I think it was a note, probably an acknowledgement from the Massachusetts Council on Aging, which is the MCOA. I don't know that there's an actual certificate, but we can forward that to either you folks or both of you folks and the treasurer's office.
Yeah, because we should have something on file that she is certified.
She's been notified and it's been awarded, but it's the ceremonial part isn't until the June annual meeting. So, but we'll get you something as soon as we can. We put something in a newsletter, which you all probably don't get, the senior scoop, but that describes the certification.
Okay.
Written by the Massachusetts Council on Aging.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, so we will put this on the table for our next meeting. Once we have it, we'll let you guys know.
And Jim, you'll note any of the changes, highlight them somehow?
Sure, I can put them in bold, if that'd be okay.
Sure, whatever,
That's
just so we can tell what's new.
Yes.
I have very limited computer skills. So when you get in those editing things, I get lost after the first draft,
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is request from Janet Kane and April West to rescore the principal assessor. Janet or April want to discuss?
Hi, Christy. This is April.
Hi,
Sorry,
April.
I had to find my mute button. So I was trying to find the last piece of information that I need. So I would like to also do a little outline of the history of the assessor's department, from the way I understand it and the information that the Board of Assessors has recently just gotten to review. It looks like in March of 2017, an assistant assessor position was advertised, scored, a job description was done, and the position was filled. And that position was scored as clerical, non-exempt, with a grade 7, based on it being an assistant position. Due to some unfortunate health circumstances with the primary assessor, in March of 2018, the assistant assessor got promoted to primary assessor, and the position was rescored. The assistant assessor in 2017 had a 2-page job description. In 2018, the primary assessor's position has a 5-page job description. It was still scored as clerical with a grade 10, but the job description included supervisory and professional requirements. In 2018, in March, with the promotion into the primary assessor position, state certification for assessor had not been received yet. But by October of 2018, that certification, I think it was 2018, that certification was in place, which is part of the current job description. And I think at that point, it would have helped to have requested that the job be rescored again, because of that certification fulfillment. At the same time as this was happening, and I wasn't on the Board of Assessors yet, a brand new board took over with very little experience. So we're all kind of learning and growing into our roles and learning, what the department requirements are, what the job description requirements are, and what we all need to be doing. And then we had, level funding budget requests and budget cut requests. And here we are in fiscal year 22, and the finance committee has asked us for 2 types of budgets. One is level funded, and the other is a needs and wants budget too. And that's where we learned about the Jacob study and the score sheets and all of the things that we are discussing tonight. So the Board of Assessors feels that the primary assessor position should be exempt, level 3, grade unit 3, and rescored because of the professional and supervisory requirements of the position. We've also taken a look at comparable towns and what the pay scales are, and Southampton is paying currently between $8 and $12 an hour less for comparable positions in other towns in our area. And we do have a comparison sheet available for that. That included Easthampton, Great Barrington, Hopedale is on there because of the size. I think Dalton's on there. That was what I was looking for. But all of those towns are offering more money for the same position.
Okay.
And there's also a certification that Martha has achieved as well, and also continues to have to do annual recertification training to maintain that. And then she
Yeah,
had it.
Is that what the stipend's for?
Yes.
Correct, yes.
Yes, she gets a stipend for that.
Yeah, I think that
Okay.
comes out to about 61 cents an hour for the $1,000. I'm sure
$1,000
Yeah.
a year.
for that, yeah. But
What
yeah,
is, what is your current rate?
So it's 25.19 an hour. If you add in that 61 cents for the stipend an hour, then we're at 25, whatever. I haven't done that math. Let's see.
25.20.
61 plus, yeah, 20, 21,
25.80.
yeah.
25.80, yeah.
25.
Has the job description changed? Are you planning to change that?
No, I
No.
don't believe that it needs to because it's pretty thorough. But
There's
what
a
I,
lot- There's a lot of things on here that Roy Bishop does, doesn't he? On the job description itself? Outsourced?
He does, and I have emails out to communities that he and other vendors have go into, and we are pretty much in line with other communities that they have vendors come in and do cyclical inspections, building inspections, interim adjustments, revaluations, building permits. So that's not unique to just Southampton. That's Northampton, South Hadley, East Longmeadow. I have a bunch of emails just so I knew that this town is not doing anything different than other communities that are still getting, higher salaries.
I don't think you're doing anything different. I'm saying it's in your job description. Is it in everyone else's job description? I'm unsure of that.
No, it pretty much is a part of it because I do have to see the work that the vendors are doing. I enter all the work to make sure that we're consistent, but I do also go out on properties. So where there was one note I wanted to make for the occupational risk, where it says it's pretty much just limited or similar to that found in a municipal setting. I go to construction sites. I go to houses that aren't complete. I've been to houses that have no staircases and, I'm not, so I mean, there is a certain risk. So it's not just set to the office. Just to clarify that. It's
And
not.
It's not that, I mean, we have to do 3,000 properties or, over, what is it, a 10-year period. And so the 100 cyclical inspections that we pay bishops to do is not limited to just him and his associates. I think Martha goes out and does some of those on her own time as well. It's just a supplement what's already in addition to what Martha does, because she can't be in the office been doing that full time as well, so.
But your question, Robin, is valid. And I was expecting that to come up because, it's hard to think when you have somebody come in and doing some of the work, is my position just clerical? But no, I do a lot of the same work and he is and other vendors. It's not just Bishop and Associates. He does go to other communities and does that work as well. This is not what I'm looking for, but just East Longmeadow, their assessor gets paid $45 an hour and he does the exact same work for East Longmeadow that he does for Southampton. That's just an example. I'm not saying I'm expecting that kind of pay, but it's just,
I don't think
throw that out there.
I don't think it's clerical. And I was told that the previous board requested that it was scored at, I don't know why. I see Jim shaking his head. Yes.
So yes, I was
Jim,
told
you're muted.
why.
Yeah.
I was told why.
I'm not sure why. I don't think it matters as long as we do it the right way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a dispute when we were doing this. The Board of Assessors were elected, and some of the members of the Board of Assessors there came in and said, "You'll do it our way because you don't really have a lot of control over us, personnel board," and that was correct. It also came up with the Board of Health, where we were told they're elected boards, they have more autonomy than appointed
Mhm.
boards. And I'm not sure if it involved you particularly, Martha, but I think.
No, I wasn't here at the time.
Yeah, the part of the thinking was that the person doing the job should be non-exempt in order that she could get paid overtime for attending, or not necessarily time and a half, but be paid additionally for attending like town meetings, select board meetings, and doing stuff out of her normal hours. And I mean, I'm thinking back a lot of years, but it was kind of convoluted, but I would agree totally that it is not a clerical position and that it was done that way at the behest of the then assessors board.
Okay. Do you work 40 hours, Martha?
I work, it's a 62 hours in a 2-week period. The 2 hours is to account, I think, for the board meetings, but it's Monday
Oh,
through
yeah.
8:30 to 4. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So it's 32, okay.
But if you want to say 31 hours a week,
Yeah. Or 62, that's
or
right.
62, sorry.
A long time since I've been there, so I remember way back when. So you're only there for an hour every other Tuesday, or is it every Tuesday?
It's every other Tuesday. So in that 2-week period, typically, if our meetings go as they normally do, it's I'm sorry, I'm brain dead. So it would typically go until 6. So Tuesdays, every other Tuesday would be 8:30 to 6, and then that would be the 32 hours, and then the week. But there are some days that I do stay over, and I was just informed this morning, as Jim was just saying, how that all came about, because I pretty much, if I work over on one night, or this week we had 2 meetings, that means that my understanding was I have to leave because I only am budgeted for my 62 hours in my 2-week period. But I was informed that it's actually illegal to not pay me overtime because I am scored that way. I'm not looking to start doing anything different, but I'm not really looking to leave early just so I make my hours, my 62. So I don't know
Well,
if that makes any
the illegality part of you not, you having to leave or not getting paid overtime, that's not really legal. They can say you have to work your hours. We can't afford you to go overtime. That's not illegal. If you worked over 40 hours and then
yeah.
that's illegal.
Yeah, I probably didn't make my point. I just wasn't, I wasn't aware. I follow my budget. I work my hours. And if I work late on one day, then that just means I leave early another day. So my hours are always my hours. I'm not nitpicking 15 minutes here and there. But yeah, I was just told this morning why that was shifted to the non-exempt position, so that
Yeah.
person could get the overtime
Overtime.
at that time.
Okay. Anything else that you guys want to add?
Just a little bit more historical. When we got to see the budget Excel sheet, which took us back to 2012, fiscal year 2012, we saw that the assessor's department was funded for a principal assessor and assistant assessor. And from 2012 to 2014, the 2 of those positions together were in the $60,000 range. Since then, the department has not been funded that way, nor has it had the staffing that it really has needed for a while. So I think it would be great if we could get back to that level again.
Do you have an assistant assessor right now?
I don't have an assistant assessor. I have an administrative assistant. So the former assistant assessor, who then became the town clerk, has since come into my office 12 hours a week. She has experience. She has not maintained her designation, but she did have her MAA. Because she became the town clerk, it wasn't necessary for her to keep that. I do know that she is a huge savior to me. Just with her knowledge, it is really hard to find people with any kind of municipal experience, let alone assessing experience. And so it's just so helpful to not have to hover over and train and teach when we both have so many things to do.
So I think she's probably an assistant assessor, but an administrative assistant in title.
Yeah.
And so she's really more of an assistant assessor, but the title of the job at this point
It's
is
the administrative, yeah.
and Martha's very fortunate that she was willing to come back and really help her out. So
And Janine's very good at what she does. Again, with this one, it's the same situation with the Council on Aging.
That's fine.
We'd like the board,
Of
the next
course.
meeting, we'll go through this thoroughly and go through the scoring. Again, I don't want to rush through this because we want to make sure everything's done fairly and accurately. So once we have that meeting time scheduled, we'll let you guys know if you want to sit in and listen to what we're doing and how we're scoring it. You're more than welcome. And then we'll go from there.
Thank you, Christy. I want to thank everybody on this Zoom meeting for giving up some valuable personal time to try to help make our town a better place. So
No, you
thank
don't need to think. That's what we're here for. And I have no problem doing it. I appreciate, and I can't talk. I enjoy doing it because the employees, as we were talking, do need something more. We have a lot of really good employees with the town. We're losing a lot of good employees. And we need to do something different. So.
If you have any questions, if you're getting down to specifics, you have any questions, please feel free to email me. It's hard I have the job description, but, just email me with any questions.
We will do that. Any other comments? Okay. Thank you guys for coming, and I really appreciate it.
Have a
And
great.
we will be in touch. Yeah, you too.
just one more comment is that if there are any other questions like Robin had as to the job description, if you think it's not accurate in any way, just let us know. And
Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you, guys. Okay, the next discussion is the select board disability proposal. Do you want to discuss that, Francine?
Francine, you muted. Can you unmute yourself or?
There, okay?
There you go.
All right. All right, yes, we had and I know you attached it as one of the documents. We had the proposal from an insurance carrier for short-term disability, and they supplemented it with some other products that they wanted to sell us, but that was not the intent. But the individual came before the select board on, I think it was February 9th. We had posted it, I thought, as a joint meeting because the select board wanted to include the personnel board in the presentation, so that if they had any questions, they could ask it directly of the vendor. But Kim was there, and I was there as you know, in my other job. In any case, I thought the presentation was excellent. So I don't know, everything is recorded. I don't know if you folks have had a chance to review that section.
Yes.
But I know that the select board is going to be having a discussion and making some decision about it at its March 9th meeting. And with that in mind, it would be good if we had some recommendation. They're looking for some recommendation from the Personnel Policies Procedure Board as to, your thoughts on the benefits or the disadvantages of this disability insurance program. What it does is it takes the onus off of the town for a kind of unlimited liability in the event that several people or many people go out for one reason or another. And we are obligated to pay 75% of their salary, which makes it then impossible for any department. Let's just look at the positions that we saw tonight. The head of the principal assessor or the director of the Council on Aging. If either of those people are out long-term, we don't have the money to replace it. That's going to shut that service down to taxpayers for assessors. It's going to close the senior program because there's no more money. Going outside and getting a commercial insurance may cost more in premiums for some years than we pay out in wages, but at least it leaves each department intact so that in the event that happens, the money is still within their budget to get some help and keep the programs going. So that's the thinking behind it. He presented, a reasonable, and they also will manage the cases, which is expertise that we don't have. We don't have anyone to understand return to work, a work limitation, a job restructuring in the event that someone can come back to work, but they can't perform all the functions of their previous job, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't come back or couldn't come back and they want to come back. There are lots of nuances to all of this that having an outside entity managing it would greatly benefit the town, but it does have a price tag. And the difference being here that their policy would reimburse people 60% of their salary as opposed to 75% that the town is paying for 26 weeks. The town is committed to making up the difference of the 15% to continue to have people receive 75% of their salary while they're out on short-term disability. So that so that the employees don't lose any type of coverage or any type of benefit from what it is that they have right now. So again, you can look over the material. You're welcome to join and listen in on the meeting when we discuss and decide if we're going to go that route. The issue for us, like it is for everyone else, is are there funds available to commit to paying this premium every year? Some years, maybe we pay out $3,000 to $5,000 in wages for people who are out on short-term disability. Premium's probably going to cost us $13,000 a year, but there could be a year when we end up paying $30,000 out. So we won't recover the money every year, but from one year to the next, it should average out. But again, do we have that money to put this benefit in place is obviously a very big part of the decision. It's not that we don't want to, but it's like everything else. Can we afford?
Was there talk about that they might want to put some of that cost to the employees also?
No.
Okay.
There was
Because we have a similar program at where I work. It's through Guardian, a very good company. And the company pays 75% of their wages. and no cost to the employees. Plus we offer them the basic life, which they don't pay for.
Right.
People
do have the option as employees, and that's
do
what they
additional
presented,
life,
two
yeah.
additional programs, life insurance and long-term.
Yes, yeah. My only concern is we have a policy that has worked for many years. Like I said at the last meeting, where we had employees out, never had to hire a temporary worker. And it was actually beneficial to the town because you're only paying 75% of their wages and 25% was still left in their budget.
Okay, but a question I would have about that, I'm going to be quite honest. If you can go a period of time without having a person in a position and other people pick up the work, then did you need that position? Can you get by with fewer workers? And that's my perspective, because I had 156 employees, and believe me,
and the sad part is
differently.
It's been done. I mean, the Council on Aging Director way back when, she was out on maternity leave, and that COA ran perfect without any temporary workers. That's just, we can go round and around with this, the sad part is it's going to cost the town money, but the town's looking to do possible override. You see where I'm going with this? It just.
Well, it would not be for that. I mean, there are other things on our agenda that we'll talk about that also would contribute to the decision whether or not to go for an override.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have any idea what our experience has been?
They've got it. They were presented with our prior experience. And as I said, I think one year it was $3,000. Another year it may have been $12,000. It just fluctuates. So they use that experience as part of the data that they analyze to make their proposal to us, because they're looking at our past to predict our future. And that was how that was worked out. And I know insurance companies never lose money. That I'm well aware of, and they don't take risks. So this is where we are. But the concern of the town really is that we either do this or we set up, in my opinion, a separate fund where we put money on reserve that becomes available to departments, so that in the event that this happens to them, that there is money available so that we can hire a replacement. My concern is that we still function, whether we take it out of the department budget or another another pool of funds, or we hire a commercial insurance company. But this would be one way of helping the department stay intact. So if you've had a chance to look, and Ken, what did you think of the presentation?
Well, I think my concern, and I must have missed that. The question that I had was what our experience was. And if they incorporated that in their proposal, then that went right over my head. But because I thought that was something we needed to come up with.
They asked for that in order to make the quote.
Okay. Do we know what it was?
The quote? I'll go back and look at the document. Somewhere $15,000 a year for the number of employees that we have.
Yeah, no. I remember what the premium was going to be, but were we told did we know what the experience was? What our losses were over a period of time?
How did it cost the town money if we weren't replacing anyone?
It didn't.
No, we were paying the 75%.
It was just that we were paying a salary out. No, the town didn't lose anything. But then in the event that a position could not be replaced because there weren't funds, then that's where the town loses out. Okay? It's not, it is going to cost more money but looking at what our experience has been, what are we paying out, is what is more cost effective, to continue to pay 75% while people are out. And if 10 people are out, we're going to be buried. And it's too late. We can't afford that. And it varies from year to year. I mean, we've been very fortunate. I think this year could have been a disaster with COVID. I mean, absolutely. We had, you know, a number of employees out, we would have been in trouble. So I just look to the future and in a way that suggests that we need to protect ourselves and protect the services that we offer and what citizens expect. If honestly, if 4 or 5 of the highway department were out, or the police were out, you know, what would that do?
We can go around and around about this, and the sad part is this policy has been in effect for many years, and it has worked very well for the employees over all these years. Had a few full-time police officers that were out, and they used part-time police officers at the time to cover those positions. And it stayed within their budget. My concern is the cost of the town. The town doesn't have the money, then put it on hold for a little bit. I don't believe we're going to be in that dire need. We're not.
Then I would suggest that someone from this committee who's in a leadership position attend the meeting and express, you know, the recommendations. If that's what this group decides, that's what, to express the recommendations to the select board as we're considering doing this or not doing it, because we want input and we want to hear what you know, what the thoughts are.
Any other comments?
When it comes to insurance, it's always a roll of the dice.
Yeah.
And it's just deciding whether or not $13,000 a year is, you know, you talk about an $80,000 salary and somebody's out for, you know, a period of time, that 13,000's gone quickly.
Yeah.
Or is justified quickly, I should say. Sorry about that. But in the same vein, if you've got a healthy crew, then your premiums are costing you. So
that's like having car insurance. I don't have an accident and I'm giving them money, but if I do, they cover it.
Right. You hate making the premium payment, but you're glad it's there if you need it. So, I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Okay. So I guess.
And how would this be negotiated with the unions? Is it part of their contracts?
No, this is only covering non-union employees.
Well,
So the union,
what we currently have.
Pardon? I believe so. Don't quote me. You go back. I'd have to go back and look at the plan, and I would suggest you do so as well. The proposal, okay? That I can't. Don't quote me.
What we're going to do with what we currently have. Are you planning to remove it permanently for everyone across the board, or just town hall employees? That's the question. I don't think that was.
Robin, can I say something?
Yes.
I just want to say that this would have to be negotiated with the unions. It's in the police and dispatch contract, and it's also in the highway contract. And it would also have to be brought to public meeting by PPBB to take it out of the personnel policy.
Correct.
So it's in their contracts that the town will pay them 75% if they're out?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I just
And,
haven't.
and that's the benefit that we give to all employees, union and non-union. But I don't, I'd have to see that other piece. If I look through this.
So
Okay,
does this also, this goes to the school department for the custodians as well, correct?
No.
I don't
no,
think so.
Are
it
they
doesn't
on union
apply to
too?
school.
they're part of the, whatever benefit program there is in the school.
Oh, okay.
So if it's covered by a union if it's in the union contract, that's where most of your high salaries are, correct?
Mhm. To some
And those are
extent,
the
yes.
positions, and those are the positions where they need to be replaced when that person's out. So they're the ones that have a harder time with their budget. Whereas if someone in town hall goes out, that person most likely isn't going to be replaced. Or even with Randall, like when his admin assistant went out, she wasn't replaced. So we were paying 75% of the wages, but we weren't also paying for another employee.
So Jennifer, you have an idea of what our costs are, what our outlay is on that.
Yeah. So it really varies. I did look it up for Ed when you were first looking into this. And it varies all the way from about 2 to 18 grand a year of what was spent for the 75%.
Mhm.
So obviously on a 2 grand year, well, you're going to pay a lot more for the policy. On an 18 grand year, I guess with the policy, I think it said it would cost 13,000 maybe.
Yeah,
Plus have to pay the 15%. I'm not sure how much of a savings there would really be. I mean, my thoughts all along, and it's just my thoughts, was that we make a budget line. If we have 13,000 to pay to the insurance company, can we make a budget line just for the disability for that 75%?
now I'm for that too. I don't care how we do it, except the only component that I like about going to a commercial insurance is the management of the case.
Yeah, that is
We
true.
don't
That
have
is-
expertise to do that.
Yeah, so yeah, right now it's just me and Ed. We get the paperwork. So yes, I agree that the expertise would definitely be better. I mean, right now we have a form that they have to fill out. They have to submit a doctor's note, and they have to continue to submit doctor's notes if they decide they're not going to come back on the day that the original note said they would come back to work.
Mhm.
So, I mean, right now that's how we handle it. Could an insurance company handle it better? I'm sure, but
I think an insurance company, like what you're talking about is more of somebody where like on workman's comp. That's the way I'm reading it. For short-term, long-term disability, it's gonna be the same thing as what you're doing now. You have a doctor's note. If they have to extend their leave, then they have to produce a note of why they're extending their leave.
correct.
It's really not gonna be, to me, the money is, you're talking about a small handful of people now for that amount of money. Because you can't do the unions unless you go through all the rigmarole to do so. And the chances of that passing is probably nil. I can't imagine that they'd pass it.
I don't see the unions negotiating that benefit out of their contract.
No,
I agree. I think
That's just my opinion.
That's a big difference.
yeah.
Well, it makes to me, I want to protect the departments so that they have the ability to hire replacements if they need them.
Right.
Without being, and I'm going to use a word, it's short-term, without being crippled by people who are out for long periods of time, because that's
How long
what
would
ends
it
up
take to
happening.
replace an employee
Mhm.
temporarily?
It-
How long does it take to replace the accountant? I mean, it's quite the process to find somebody to come in.
Well, even if
They
we
may be
hired,
back before then.
mhm.
Correct.
Well, you still can't do without, and you have to make every attempt to do something. Okay, I don't, that's all I have to say. So certainly make plans to attend the meeting, have your input into the discussion, simply because they're, we're looking for a recommendation. And I guess as a group, we have to decide what that recommendation is.
Yeah. Any other further discussion on this? Their meetings on, this is going to be discussed on when again?
March 9th,
March 9th.
March 9th.
in 2 weeks.
And what time is that going to be at?
It's just part of the agenda. We haven't timed it out. I haven't done a clue.
Okay.
That's a slippery slope, trying to project how long these meetings go.
Okay. Okay. I guess we will try to make it to that meeting and we can discuss it.
Well, we need to decide, I think, among ourselves first, and then have someone
Right.
make the presentation of the thinking of the PBB would be my recommendation. I think we have to discuss it and then present it.
Yeah. My concern was, the scenarios of the department heads. But now knowing that that's part of their union contracts, and that's not going to fly.
No, most department heads are not in the union contract.
No, but I'm saying the ones that are covered in the union.
Yes.
I think I'd lean to staying where we are, knowing that. I was concerned about, somebody making $80,000 that all of a sudden we're going to be responsible for. But now that's already been determined. We're bound to pay that 75%.
I don't want to remove the policy that we have right now.
What's that?
I'm not in favor. So I don't know if you want to do a vote on it or if you want to wait and see this presentation, but I saw enough.
The presentation is over. I mean,
Yeah.
if you haven't viewed it, then see it. But the discussion, the decision will be on the 9th.
Right. So the select board want us to remove the policy. I'm not sure where you're going because you're going to implement that, whether we recommend it or not.
No, I don't think there's no decision made. We're looking for a recommendation from the perspective of the personnel board, what your thoughts are. That's all it is. I mean, it's not a foregone conclusion. What I'm talking about are the pluses of doing this versus the minuses of doing it as I see it right now. But I know the experience has not been bad. I just anticipate that at some point in time it does, we're really going to be out of luck.
Right.
And I did not work in the insurance industry. Okay, I have no vested interest in it.
I have, my feelings. I think we should keep the policy that we have. I can guarantee you that the unions are not going to agree to this.
Right.
And it's not worth doing it for a handful of people. It's not feasibly, it's just not feasible to do so. It's not worth paying that kind of money for a handful of people. But I'm going with staying what we have.
I'd like to make a motion to continue as is.
I will second. All those in favor?
Richard, I.
Slattery, aye.
Somewhat reluctantly, Cole, I.
And I'm a nay.
Okay.
Not, and I need to stipulate, it's not in favor of this insurance policy. It's in favor of taking the responsibility away from the departments and setting up a separate line item whereby these kinds of situations are not taken out of department budgets, but out of another fund. So that's mine.
And I understand where you're coming from, and, and Jennifer had a great, if they're willing to pay an insurance company that kind of money, then the town should be willing to put a little aside a fund if it happens to happen that way, that they need to use it, the money will be there.
Mhm.
But I know from all the years that I worked with the town, which was many, many years, we've never had to replace any employee that was out on disability. Worked within our budget, and that was that. There was never any replacements.
But did the department heads feel that way?
I was department head. I had to live within my budget. I had 2 people out on medical leave, and we had to work with what we had.
And the rest, you felt the same way as well?
We never had any problems.
Mhm.
No.
Well, it's insurance. Like I say, it's
Yeah.
a gamble. So you're
It's a huge gamble.
damned if you do and damned if you don't. So,
Yeah.
And basically, seeing what I've seen on the finance committee, the dollars aren't coming easily. And somebody's looking at this and saying, well, you're gambling on insurance. Why are you doing that? We need that money to do this.
Yeah, I mean, and looking at the finance committee, they used to have a substantial reserve fund, like $30,000. Then it went down to $15,000, and now it's like zero.
Right.
But if that were something like that were reinstated, that could be a place to go.
I agree.
That's all I'm looking for.
Yep. Okay, so you got your vote, right?
Yep.
Or you know
So,
what it is.
Yeah, so someone will, from here, will, because I'm not comfortable being on the select board talking on behalf of, it's
Right.
one of you folks.
Yeah, I will, I'll make sure that I'm out of work in time to make that meeting.
Okay. Good.
Okay, the next review on grant application for salary survey.
Okay, that is me. And I did mention that the salary survey grant application never went in because they wouldn't consider a salary survey. What they did consider and what they want to put together, and what we submitted an application for to the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, was to have them do a study of a lot of towns in this area who are of similar size, who don't currently have HR departments, and look at it and examine and say, well, what is it that they need and what would that look like? And do they need it? Okay. So that was the essence of my application to them. We should be hearing in a couple of weeks. I explained that if they agree to grant this to us, it doesn't mean money coming to the town. What it means is the service coming to the town that will be provided through the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. They have expertise and they will be doing this. So we would be part of a consortium of towns who are looking at the results of an exploration into having a regional human resource, a place to go when issues come up, and looking for some expertise. And so that's what it amounted to. The select board approved the application and went in. I was told that because we are part of a group of towns who put forward essentially the same proposal, that it's likely to be funded. So looking at that down the road and saying to myself, oh, this resource happens, maybe eventually that could be the same group we tap to do a salary survey. There's somebody to keep us up to date, somebody who can help us with point us and connect us to recruiting resources. I mean, there are a number of things that are out there that if we had an HR department that could help with or direct us, then I think we would, I think we'd be in better shape. Maybe it wouldn't take us 5 months to hire somebody. So that's sort of where the thinking behind that. And I just wanted to share that. And I sent a copy of the one-page summary to everyone, or to Robin, it was
Yep, I
distributed.
forwarded to everyone today.
Yeah, okay.
Remember?
So I hope, we didn't have a chance to discuss it because we didn't have another meeting and I got turned down, and this was the only way to go, that maybe through the back door we can get what we want eventually.
And you're gonna hear from them when?
Someone said we should probably hear by mid-March.
Okay.
But, like I said, it's really not going to impact us. All the work's going to be going around us.
Right.
But it would be good. Maybe they'll come to a meeting and we can, we can talk with them and they can talk with us and maybe help direct some of their activities would be great.
Okay.
I think it's super.
It's a starting point. Is this salary survey, is it the same thing? And the next on the agenda, salary survey presented to the select board on February 2nd. Is that the same thing?
No.
Okay.
No. So that's in regards to the survey that Arthur Lawrence submitted to the select board. And at the last meeting, it was asked what we were doing about it. And I also received an email from Ed Gibson asking us to take a look at the scales and add 2% on for each fiscal year. So I don't know that we can do that. I'm happy to do that and present it to the select board again for approval. I don't know what everyone else's thoughts are on that. And
Okay. All right.
we need a commitment that the select board's going to budget for the raises before we.
Well, what we need, I don't think this select board at this point in time can make a commitment to do that. But we're looking again to, and I think the shortest route to go would be, and this, to my knowledge, I don't know for sure, that this came as a vote by the PBB to recommend to the select board that we adopt the study that Art compiled in November of 19 or February of 2020. It's all the same, essentially the same data. And that would be, we definitely want to find a way to enhance the salaries in town. And this would be the yardstick that we would use. We certainly can't go from 0 to 100 and do everyone all at the same time. We can look at disparities and discrepancies, but at least that kind of draws a roadmap of where we should be going. The other scale is more that we've been using is more reactive. There's no, you know what I'm saying? Because it doesn't shoot for a target, either based on experience or however. It was low, arts was low, medium, and high, and it compared it to other communities. And I think it's a really good document. Everyone is going to do whatever they can to respond to what we know is you know, the deficit in the salary structure in town. And so all the select board wants, again, is for someone, for the PQB to take a vote, make a recommendation, present it, and that
But
we
we did.
adopt it. Again, we're looking for expertise.
We'll do it
from
again.
Committees. Pardon?
I said, we'll do it again then. We
I
did
don't
do-
ever, can be
That was
honest
what
with
the
you,
proposal
I
was
don't
all
ever
about.
remember, other than Art's presentation, I don't remember any other recommendation coming. Maybe it happened and somehow I missed it, but that's all we're asking for, so that we can, I mean, we could move ahead and not come back to you folks and say, what are you thinking? But we want to hear what you think. Just as you drew out the plan on the short-term disability. That's a good way of, you know, of having input and expanding, you know, expanding the number of voices that are in this process. So it's up to,
Mhm. I'd like to take a look at these scales, add the 2% for each fiscal year, if everyone agrees upon that. We'll vote on it as a board and go from there.
but you're not, I'm talking about Art's document. You don't want to vote on that and make that a recommendation?
It's out of date. It's out of date, I think.
Well,
And that's why
Art's,
The one,
we proposed it last year.
yeah.
The
It
salary-
included,
the salary base that we're using is the 2017, right?
Yeah.
on
Right,
those 2
And that's
pages.
where he originally got his numbers from. I
Okay.
think it's the same.
So his proposal, did his proposal increase that number,
Yes,
those numbers?
yes.
But did not include the 2 years that they were increased by 2%.
Well, in 2020, they got a 2% increase, and I'm assuming, and I'll check this with Art, that 2% is reflective in his report.
Right,
It was
so you may not have to,
2021, we didn't give a raise.
yeah, so you may
this
not,
year.
have to- you may not have to redo them if they've already been
Yes,
done.
yes.
I'm not certain of that.
Jennifer,
She's muted.
maybe she can answer that question.
Are you still with us, Jennifer?
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening though, so I'm not sure what the question was.
The
The
question was,
Go ahead.
Francine, sorry.
No, the question is, we gave a 2% increase in 2020 and no increase in fiscal year 21.
There wasn't an increase in 20 or 21.
So it's 2 years.
18
Yep,
and,
so I
18.
started in April of 18. There was no increase for that coming year. There's been one increase since I started, 2%.
In 2019?
In 19, yeah.
Okay. So then Art's numbers are definitely 19, so we would have to add 2% in for 2020, 2021, and then look ahead to 2022.
but is that
Well,
what happened? 2020 and 2021, everybody got a 2% raise?
no.
No one
Nobody got a raise.
No
No,
one.
But I think that you
Okay.
would still add 2% for each year to that wage scale, because
it's
regardless if
2007.
Southampton received a wage or not, the COLA still would
right.
have happened every year. You know, you would still add the 2% for each year, I believe, even if we didn't receive anything.
Right,
Correct.
Just to keep up with the cost of living, right?
right.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'm saying if we got one in 19, then we'd have to do 20, 21, and 22.
Okay,
Are you talking on the wage scale? Is that what I'm sorry.
Yeah. It has to reflect the wage scale.
Yeah.
And not Art's classification study?
No, because this wage scale does not match his classification study. That was a
No.
proposal with the percentage on it. And these are what we refer to now. So it would make sense to up our scales for each
Okay.
fiscal year.
Okay,
And wherever people lie, they lie on the wage scale.
right.
okay. That's fine.
Okay.
But I do think I do think what he shows in this document, because that just keeps us in our own world. What his document did is it got the information from outside of Southampton
Right.
and then posed it so that we really understood how we compared to others and what we might be able to do about it. I mean, that's ultimately what the goal is. He cited, he has all the information from all the towns that were cited to arrive at these numbers. So
I just
I'd
received this
probably like to
today.
see us do both. Pardon?
I just received this today, so I would like to have time to look at this.
I understand. But I had sent this to you before. I had sent.
I'm
this to
having
you
problems
earlier.
with my emails.
Okay.
They're working on it, so I'm hoping to have it fixed within the next day.
Okay. Oh, I'm fine with it. And I think if we just have the first decision is to upgrade those two, update those 2 pages, that's fine. But I'd like you to consider what I hope is ultimately a better prospect by looking at this study. And yes, these numbers have to be updated by those same percentages because this was 2 years ago now.
Is there an exempt scale with this, or is this just non-exempt?
Weren't those numbers also done, weren't they taken out of the Jacob study, which was even more than 2 years ago?
Yes.
And then, so I feel like that's already even outdated now. And I feel like a lot of that was compared to the city of Easthampton, and we don't really compare to the city of Easthampton.
Well, he had Easthampton, they
Yeah,
had.
that's a municipality of over 16,000 people. It's a
Understood.
city, it's different.
Okay, but if you
You know?
looked at, I mean, he had some other data from other towns, Agawam, Amherst, Belchertown. I mean, small and large, West Hampton.
When I had to do something for the select board, they said two of the towns they said we would compare to would be Granby and Lee. And that was for our population size.
Okay.
So that's what I was told by the board at one point.
Okay, so
I
if we
don't know if
just,
they're in there.
do the 2 pages, that's fine.
Well, and then I think we should move forward with a comparison and cross-referencing and making sure that they're fair for each position.
But
I
we,
think the first thing we
yes.
need to do is get the money in check there.
Okay, but I think what we'd like to see these scales before we do the budget so that we can start
Absolutely.
moving, okay?
If I have time, I will work on it this week. And
Robin,
I'll- each
Robin, you and I, we can both work on it, compare what we come up with,
Mhm.
checks and balances.
And I don't know if you want to involve the finance committee in this. Ken, I don't want to, I know you guys are
How you feel,
swamped.
Ken? I mean, you want to take it on, feel free.
I'm already loaded up, I think.
Yeah, they, I know they are.
Do we have
Jennifer?
an exempt scale on this?
Yes,
Am I missing that? Because I don't have that.
certainly send.
Good. Sorry.
All right, so we'll work on
You-
that.
Can you forward me the exempt side? I don't have that. See that?
I do, I have. I thought I have an example.
Okay, for some reason
Don't worry.
yeah. Like
Don't
I said,
worry.
unfortunately, my emails, I'm having trouble with emails.
Okay.
Um,
All right, so that's on our agenda.
To all of you if you want.
Okay.
Okay. Next up is discussion on COVID-19 leave policy.
It's everybody's take on using sick time.
Okay.
Anyone?
Oh, so basically what this does is this gives people up to 10 days paid sick time in addition to what they already get, considering that there are special circumstances around COVID.
Okay.
And it's retroactive to January 1st because the Safe Family Act expired in December of 2020. So this picks
Right.
up. So for people who happen to unfortunately have that experience between then and the time that we adopt this, it will be retroactive.
Where did this come from?
I believe it came from the state. The ideas of kind of replacing or supplementing sick time because of this pandemic and people's, it's so random and.
Okay, but this is not our author anywhere. This has come from
He'll
state
check this out.
agency.
So
This
so Ed created that based off what the state was giving before the
Oh.
Family's First Act expired. So it's basically exactly what the act was giving. And the select board and Ed wanted to extend it for the town, even though the state's not requiring it anymore, just so people would, do the right thing and call out of work if they were feeling sick or if they thought they were exposed to COVID, without having to use their own time. So they wouldn't just go to work responsibly. They didn't have time or didn't want to use their time.
Okay. Who?
So it's a very generous thing.
Yes. Is there any testing now, Jen, that we know of to check on the employees, especially like the police, fire?
Yeah, suspected close contact. Yeah.
To
Any
see if-
testing that they're doing?
Yeah, or do they do regular tests,
I'm not really sure. I know that most of the police and fire have been vaccinated now. If they chose
Okay.
to be, there are certain employees that chose not to be.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if they're requiring testing.
Have we had anybody out, do we know of, that had suspicion of COVID?
I believe we've had a couple cases of
Okay.
town
I'm
employees.
sorry. Yeah, we definitely have had cases of town employees. And
So
we've
they would
had,
go back
employees that were
retroactive. Okay.
Since January, yes, we do have a few that would go back retroactive. But
Okay.
I would say it's only a couple.
Okay. Any discussion on it?
And again, coming back, and I'd like to hear if this PBB recommends it, and I'll take that back to the select board. They would like to know the feeling of this group about
I
this.
do know that, I'm sorry, I do know that the police chief is really supportive of this, because if he has to quarantine an officer, he feels it's just not fair to ask them to use their own time, or if he tells them to quarantine. So I know this is something he was looking for. But I thought I would just say that because he did talk to me about it a little bit.
Right, because the police and the fire and the EMS, it could be very likely that they would contract COVID just by virtue of their job.
Correct.
I'm in favor of this policy. We have the same policy where I work, because we have group homes and our counselors have to be there 24/7. And yeah, it's not fair that they'd have to use their time. So we have had a few people that were out and they were paid for being out, and it did not go against their accruals. So I'm for it. I do think it's a good policy, especially for employees, because they should not lose out on their paid time for something that we're dealing with for a pandemic.
And just so you know, that goes along with this are CDC guidelines about quarantining and so on and so forth, so that
Yes.
people know what the appropriate behavior is consistent with COVID.
Now, are they supposed to get tested and make sure they bring back a negative test, or what's the rule on that?
I believe, I don't know.
It's whatever the CDC guidelines
Right.
states. I do believe that they do have to bring back a negative test.
Okay.
I think that should be, those guidelines should be in this policy.
They
Yeah.
will be an attachment, but to this, but this is really in essence, the green light to go ahead and say, we want to give people extra time if they need it.
So who administers this on a day-to-day basis? Who oversees this? The department heads have to be aware of this. How do they get,
The treasurer's office and the
It
administrator.
would be between the department head, treasurer's office, and town administrator.
okay. Okay, so do we need to vote this or?
I would, yeah. Anyone want to make a motion?
I make a motion to accept the COVID-19 municipal employee related leave.
Second,
All those in favor?
aye, Cole,
Aye.
Richard, I.
Slattery, aye. So it's unanimous. Next up is rules and regulations review.
Chris, I'm sorry, but before we get into that, I added to the agenda late, but so I don't think the original copy had it, but the highway administrative assistant was kicked back to us because of the range.
Yes,
It
thank
did
you,
not
because
The
I
pay
thought that
scale.
was supposed to be on here, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if you want to discuss that now, what we want to do about it. We just want to change it to what it should be on the scale. Do we want to rescore it? What's your thoughts?
Could I just mention something though? What I don't believe when, and I was there at the finance committee when they looked at this, they looked at what was available in the general fund for the position, but that position is supplemented by funds that are in the enterprise fund, which we didn't consider. Am I right, Ken?
yes,
Okay, so that kind of puts a different light on it. It may or may not, because your decision, this finance committee's decision was because they were going on what was left in the general fund budget line for the position.
correct.
How often does the assistant get paid from the enterprise fund?
Um,
I do.
I'm not sure, but I don't know.
Because
Jen, do
of,
you know-
We have
yeah,
water hours, 2 hours a week, I think, out of that budget. I'm not certain if it's changed.
I'm not familiar with it.
I mean, so all that does is increase the range a little bit from what we had thought it was if we just considered what was available in the general fund. And what was the person's who had the position, their current salary.
And what was Joe Set's rate of pay before he left?
I don't know what you left out. I know when this was posted the first time in 2015, it was posted with a salary up to $17, which makes sense with the range. However,
1746.
that is
Right.
pathetic.
Right.
The scale is
Yeah, the current salary is 1746.
1154 to 1715.
On that scale, yes.
Yes, on
Yeah.
grade 5. I just who's gonna do that job for that?
Right.
I don't know.
Way back when I did it for $8.50.
I don't want to tell you what I got paid in my first job.
Yeah, so I don't know if we need to reach out to Randall if he wants to. I mean, I guess he'd have to change his job description and I don't know. for us to rescore it. There has to be a valid reason to rescore it. Great.
Why is he asking for it to be rescored?
Initially he did email us and ask us, he wanted to implement some other responsibilities, but he did not.
Never gave us it. Yeah, he never
ended up
gave us
submitting
any.
it As is.
So I know how he got to his number, that range up to $35,000 a year, is that he took the current salary and he looked at the, on Art's schedule, the one,
Yeah,
that
I think
and
he
he
did on the
looked at the
wrong- yeah.
maximum and he just created this range using this instrument. That's why whatever it is that we're going to use, everybody just has to use the same thing.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. So do we want to vote to change it to the correct amount and then go from there? If he wants to do something with it, he can come back to us.
Well, what's the correct amount?
Okay. A grade 5, Ken, is $11.54,
Yep.
$17.15.
But if he's going
How
to
do we-
use the,
He certainly,
I know you're using the scale. That's fine.
but he can go mid-range. I mean, he doesn't have to start. We don't usually start at the very beginning, but that's the full range.
Yes.
My question is he gonna use the job description that we're looking at, or is he looking at more duties?
Well, he hasn't submitted anything to us, so we can't
So,
really,
yeah, then
Yes.
we'll,
all we can do is reach out and have a conversation with them. But I mean, at the very least, let's correct it so
Yeah.
they can move forward one way or another.
But we told him that that the high range would be 1746 because that's what we've got allocated.
So, what was, no, it went out as 1682 to 2691.
Right, but That-
We never would hire someone at that rate, I'm sure.
right, but it was signed off as the top end being 1746.
That's what the finance committee did. Yes.
Let's say, what does the
That's what
minute-
Ed has the form.
I think it's because that's what the prior person was making.
And that was what was in the budget.
Right.
Correct.
So so we basically said that's the high end. We can't pay any more.
no, we can't. And
Right. That's where the 1746 came from, but I don't understand why there's a discrepancy between that number. Well, yes, I guess I do. Where did the 1715 come from? That has nothing to do with the budget.
It comes from that other scale that they're
Okay,
going to update.
yeah, okay. Well, I'm sure Randall's going to have a problem if we told him originally 1746 and now we're going to come back and say it's 1715.
I don't know that anybody's told Randall anything
No,
because
we
it
didn't
hasn't
tell
all
him
gone through
anything.
the system.
Yeah, it hasn't gone back, it hasn't been approved
Oh.
yet, so
Okay.
no one has told him anything.
Right.
All right,
Sure.
okay.
Where there's a problem with it.
All right, so then that's what it's going to be, 1154 to 1715.
Okay,
yeah,
Is that right?
yes, Ken.
yes.
Okay.
Let's see.
And if we're updating that schedule, those
Yeah,
scales,
that'll go up.
yeah. So maybe we could factor that in.
Mhm.
Well, that has to be approved, but okay.
I mean, a lot of these people that have been working, they're not even on this scale. How do you,
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
you know? So we'll have to figure out how to do it fairly. 1154, 1715. Do we want to vote on that just to make it official?
I make a motion to approve the assistant to the highway department pay scale from 1154 to 1715 as a pay range.
Second,
All those in favor?
all right.
Richard, I.
Slattery, aye.
I guess Tish, but I,
Yes.
Yes.
None of us are really in favor. It's ugly, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hope we can fix this.
Yeah.
It's still, is this still gonna be a 25 an hour position, correct?
Yeah, nothing changes except for the
Okay.
scale, the range on his posting.
Okay. Okay. Just lost the agenda. Okay, move on to rules and regulations review. You have any new discussions on this?
I don't, but you know, the question that was asked about whether or not the rescoring or the job description has to go back to the select board for approval. And I looked at this, and on page 23, it says positions may not be reclassified without a review and approval of the PBB. There is no mention of the select board in
I didn't
doing
think so.
reclassifications.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, how are we going to make sure it's budgeted then?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
How will we make sure it's budgeted?
That's when the finance season.
Finance committee, yeah.
Okay. So we make the recommendation, and once it makes its way to finance, you will have the final say that it is in the budget to make the increases, say, for July 1st.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll keep looking to see if there's any other reference, because there are places here where it says, you know, the select board has to approve. But nothing here, you know, specific to job reclassification.
Sure, we're not skipping over. Because have we been wasting our time then? If we could have went to the finance committee right away, this may have been implemented already. Okay. Let's move forward. There's one thought. Do we want to up the sick days for people? We have 5 sick days. It's almost unheard of that are not carried over either. They do not accrue. Most places you accrue one a month, so you have 12 sick days a year, or some are 1.5, depending on if you're a department head. Making it 15, is it? I don't know if that's something that we want to look at, to be fair. Because that is one of the issues with the COVID. It's like people don't even have sick time to
Right.
be able to take it if they have to.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
we should. I do.
At the very least, give them 12 a year. They don't have to be carried over,
No.
or we can carry them over. It's really up to, and cap it.
I do think that, and this is just going back to the disability, I think for the union employees, a few of them have voiced to me prior that if we had sick time that accrued, and they could accrue sick time up to the amount of 26 weeks of work, that would be comparable to them as our disability plan. And I'm not saying they're all for that, but a few of them have said they would prefer to have accumulating sick time. And then you can decide whether or not when someone leaves, you can pay out 0%. You can, you know, unions are going to try to negotiate in their contracts like, well, we want to get paid out this now, like 10%, but that's all in negotiations, but there's just a policy on it. You know, you don't have to pay out any of it. I mean, so anyways.
Is there a payout now, Jennifer?
There's no payout for sick time now, no.
Use it or lose it at the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah,
I think that should stay as is.
yeah,
Pay
but
now for vacation, correct?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
I
don't
think
see
that-
why. Sorry, go ahead.
Robin, do you remember if police get paid out for sick at the end, or do they get paid for those sick days they didn't use at the end of the year?
If it, police do?
Did they? I don't remember.
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I would have to look at that. I don't know if that's in their contract. But anyways, like if you had a accruing sick time, you know, that could be something that people would feel comfortable with if they could accrue up to the 26 weeks rather than having that disability plan. But then you would be paying them at 100% and not 75. So I don't know. It was just a thought.
Yeah, it depends on the contract language. I mean, they
Yeah.
can accrue it and use it year after year.
Yeah.
But they can't take it with them if they leave, or you cap it. And they can only take so much of it.
Yeah. I think that's got to be an agenda item.
Okay.
I don't think that's something you
We can
decide
discuss
tonight.
it further, absolutely.
Okay. I don't want to interrupt the discussion here. When we're done with this topic, I want to come back to something if we can.
Me too. But it won't be that lengthy.
Go ahead, Francine.
Okay. I'm thinking about redoing these salary scales
Yep.
and putting in an increase for years when we didn't have an increase. I don't want you going to all this work and then finding if we didn't give an increase in 20, then that 2% wouldn't count. We would pick it up in 21 and 22 or however it went. Do you know what I'm saying?
It doesn't matter if they got one or not. The scale is going to reflect each step, not if they got one or not. It's just a
Okay.
step. They go to the next
Okay,
step.
that's fine then.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, because it's a lot of detail work for you to do. And I just don't, make sure that we're using the right.
It's gonna be consistent. That's,
Okay.
I think I'll do a spreadsheet for 1 year at a time so we can see it for each year.
Good.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
And we'll just add 2%, 2%, 2%.
Right. But I think, just to be honest with you, people are still going to want to refer to arts so that we can look at the disparity. Because
Well,
there are some people who are so underpaid.
we'll need to look at that, absolutely.
Yes.
To
Okay.
update it, compare, and make sure it's fair.
Yeah.
Why was that never dealt with when it was originally proposed in 19? It got to the select board, but they didn't do anything with it?
No, it was proposed in 17 and 19.
I think you're
But
right.
17, they established it in 17, right?
Yeah. He brought it to the select board's attention several times.
Right.
Yeah.
But,
And I agree. I don't think we ever acted on it, and we need to.
Let's do it.
The issue that I had, you through Francine?
Mhm.
Okay. This, and it actually came up, well, it's come up in a couple of situations, but it's furthered in this, your presentation here on this, the PVPC. But in it, there's a sentence that says, in Southampton, the HR function is currently carried out by an elected voluntary personnel policies and procedures board comprised of 5 town residents. Is everybody elected
Yes.
yes.
as a member of this board?
Yes.
No, well, there's
Except for
three
me, I was elected for something else.
two liaisons.
Mhm.
So you're the liaison from finance, Francine's the liaison from select board.
Yeah, so that's really not right, because I'm not elected to this board. I'm elected to the finance committee. and I'm
But the-
serving as a
but-
liaison
But
with
the by, but the bylaws,
vote.
but the bylaws require this kind of overlapping relationship for the two, I think, interested entities as part of this process.
And you are a voting member.
Mhm.
Right, so why is it that on some committees, there's a requirement for a liaison, but that liaison does not have a vote? Like Francine coming to Finance Committee,
I don't know. I don't know.
I think I don't know if it's just peculiar to our bylaws or there are some state regulations around it. I know the state regulation says that if you're on the Finance Committee, you may not serve on any other committee. It doesn't say that about the Select Board. It says it about Finance.
right? So, okay. So that's where I had the problem, because neither one of us is an elected member of this committee.
Directly, indirectly, yes.
No. You're either elected or you're not. You're elected to another committee, which has a delegation. I'm getting technical, but I'm just,
What?
it's,
Wait a minute. You're,
jumped
so
out at me.
you have issue with the wording of the grant? Is that where we're going here? Yeah.
No, it was just the information that was contained in there that basically said everybody was elected. If I went out, then I went out to the website and looked at the members, and it shows that each one of us has an expiration date, and it identifies Francine as a liaison. There's no liaison for me. It just indicates that I'm a standing member, and I expire at the same time my Finance Committee membership expires. So
Yeah, I would
a little
think,
perplexing.
I would think that you should also be listed as a liaison with your expiration date of the Finance Committee.
Where are you not listed? On the website?
Yeah.
On our board, specific board, this town?
Yep.
Well, I'll take a look at that.
Yeah, you should be listed.
I'm listed, but not as a liaison.
So if it's just on my town government, because that I have access to change. The website itself, not sure.
No, I think if you go out and pull on
So it's the website.
government, then you go over to, administration, and then find the committee.
I'd ask
and
Ed
click on the
about it.
committee.
He can have it updated.
Yeah, I think he went in to do that because I had made a comment to him that the Finance Committee was all ancient members. And I think he went in and changed those, and that maybe at that same time, he made some other changes as well. But anyways.
You're
Sorry.
our liaison.
Uh,
All right.
Okay, I'm good.
You sure?
That's after 8 o'clock. I don't know.
I know, God, it's been a long day.
Okay.
Do you have any new business? Or did you have something, Robin?
Not really. I just thought maybe a little recap, rundown what we're going to do moving forward. So we're going to wait on Jim Palermo to submit a job description with the changes, and we'll go from there, and we'll set up a meeting. And shall we score the two at the same time?
I think we
Should it
should.
be a brief meeting just specific to the scorings so we can concentrate on that?
I think that would probably be the best to.
Okay.
go
Yeah.
through it.
So we'll
Makes
do
sense.
those together. As soon as-
So we'll meet before the next scheduled meeting
Yeah,
sometime in
hopefully
between.
next Thursday or the third Thursday after.
Okay,
As soon as we get the information, we'll schedule it. What else? Disability proposal. Chrissy, you're gonna go to the select board, or at least reach out to the chair and let them know where we stand.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. Waiting on the grant application, the shared municipal resources. We're moving forward the COVID-19 policy. We all agree. What else am I missing?
Highway scale, highway,
So Randall, I'll reach out to him and let him know what happened tonight. And go from there.
Yep.
And the ball's in his court, what he'd like to do.
yeah.
Okay. Other than that, we'll be in touch once I hear from Jim.
Yeah.
I'm good. Oh, and I'm going to work on the scales.
Okay.
Yes.
And if anybody, if you don't mind, in the interim, if we can recommend agenda items,
Absolutely.
okay? Not that I know of anything coming up, but it could.
Right. If you guys think of anything, just send them to me. Let me know and we'll add it to the agenda.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Anything else?
Not with me.
I'll move, we adjourn.
I got a new pile.
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it.
I'll agree to adjourn.
Yes.
Richard, I.
Slattery, aye.
Tishman, I.
Cole, aye.
All right. Good night.
Thank you,
everybody.
guys.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Good night.
Thank
See
you. Stay
Have a
safe.
good night. You too.
I'll see you Monday, Ken.
Yes, you will. Have a good weekend.
You too.
You too.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.